Griffins are coming back to Ark, and they're coming with a big new feature. The long-awaited Ragnarok map looks like we may be getting it soon. On time? Who really knows? But we're gonna get it soon. The date that's been given to us right now is actually currently June 2nd. We have had multiple delays to this map and this date, but this is the date we have right now. For me, I'm looking at it like this date and time frame has to be abided by, because at the point that we are right now with Ark, the audience and the IP base, it's kind of like by the act of maybe another delay, people are going to be over it, people are going to forget about it, and one of the biggest maps on Ark might come to a very, very quiet release, which we cannot have. Ragnarok is one of the biggest maps, so imagine it doesn't come out and have a good release. And when we think about that possibility, it's like, where do we go from there? So we cannot let that happen. And there's something I'm really noticing with Wildcard, and it's like, why are we not putting actual adequate money into advertising Ark as a game? We've seen the player base hold this game up for so many years. The player base was great, it was huge, we were ravaging, we wanted more content, we just couldn't have enough of Ark. And at a time like this, where we are seeing the audience of Ark start depleting slowly over time, due to the things happening with Snail Games, and the little things with the delays and all the issues we're seeing with ASA, and the sunsetting of ASE. And now we're going back to ASE with Snail Games putting a new map into that game that was supposedly dead. We haven't still seen Wildcard adopt any new efforts or any new ways of promoting the game. The ravaging player base is no longer there as it used to be. We need to use other avenues of keeping the game afloat and keeping the interest levels high. This includes advertising. Wildcard and Snail Games have not done any major advertising for Ark Survival Ascended, and the old method is no longer going to work, and things like this will affect Ragnarok. I believe if a lot of players, if all the players of Ark knew that Ragnarok was coming out at this point, and even the ones who checked out a long time ago at the start of ASA, they might come back in. The ones that checked out after the multiple delays of Ragnarok, they might come back in, but they don't even know about it because they stopped checking for it. And you, Wildcard, haven't put anything else in front of them to let them know that, hey, this is still coming out. Hey, this is still something to be hyped about. Because as we saw with the crunch, we were giving a big, huge splash page image of the Griffin, and it looks freaking awesome. Obviously, this is like a supercomputer quantum drive, quantum render, so it's gonna look kind of like this, but not exactly as high quality. But I have to say, personally, I feel like all the models and the textures of all the dinos on ASA has come a long way, and it looks really good if you have a super quantum computer that can actually run the game on super high quality or anything above medium. And they said they've been fast, fierce, and a fan favorite for years. So Griffin lovers, rejoice. With the arrival of Ragnarok in Ark Survival Ascended, we are excited to grant a long-standing community wish. Griffins will be breedable. And yes, you heard that right and you read that right. Griffins will be breedable. This is a thing that the audience has always been asked since the start of the freaking Griffins and Wyverns and things. These are things that the audience has been asking for that we didn't get on ASC, and a lot of people will not know that this is going to happen. That is why we need things like advertisement to get this in front of them, to bring them back to the game. And I don't see Wildcard doing this. And personally, do I like the fact that Griffins are going to be breedable? No, I'm coming in with the same approach and the same mindset I had with the Wyverns becoming breedable. I feel like it takes away some of that mystique of owning one of these incredible beasts. Griffins are one of my top 3 favorite dinos in Ark, and they're number 2 to be honest with you. And I always loved the idea of going out and grinding to find a max level. Then after you find a max level, you hope that it comes out with the best stats. Those are the things that made it really special to own a good Griffin. And you couldn't breed them, you had to find one with a good stat, because you couldn't essentially cheat your way to better stats through breeding and stacking mutations. And when you have these perfect stats, you had to be really careful. You had to do things with thought in it, and you couldn't just go out there and get your Griffin killed because you wouldn't have that Griffin anymore. And the only point of the game where you could do that, go out and have the same Griffin multiple times, is when you finally get to endgame, where you can clone your dinos. You have your cloning chambers. Now you can clone dinos. You can clone this perfect stat, sell it to friends, sell it to people, gift it to friends, and do other things with it. But again, that is end game content, and I feel like making these mythical creatures breedable takes away some end game content. And that's where we're seeing some trouble with ASA. What they're doing essentially is okay and it's good for the game. When you have old things that used to be issues that people used to complain about, when you have this new game, you make those things a little bit easier. You make those quality of life issues a little bit more smoothened out. But as you are making things easier, you also need to add things that make the game a little bit harder. We are seeing a lot of things become easier with Ark, but there's not a lot of harder content being added to the game. And players who have been playing a long time, we want to have new experiences, difficulties, challenge. A game with no challenge is a game that's not worth playing. And that is the road I'm seeing ASA going. And I think we need to reel it back. If we're adding things to make it easier, make it more forgiving, we need to add new, fresh, harder content. And this could range from things like when you're remaking these maps, add some new places, add some new caves. They don't even need to be artifact caves or whatever. Just add some new things that are difficult that players can go and explore, so we can go to the same map and have new experiences, finding new things, seeing new things, being in new challenges. But we are not seeing that with ASA, and that is why ASA is not beating ASE, because who is going to come to this new experience that is essentially the exact same as the old experience? It's just harder for you to run. No one wants that. And that is the constant problem we're seeing. And when we do get new things, they're mostly not finished. Like Astros. Astros was a great map. It's a beautiful map, but it's so unfinished. Like a lot of people don't think it is worth it right now. If we had waited on that and put that out later on in the Ark Ascended journey, it would have been a really, really good thing to draw players in, not annoy them by dropping a half-baked map. So yeah, making Griffins breedable is a little bit annoying in my eyes, just due to the fact that it takes away that mystique, especially when you have all these mutated colors and things from events. It made it a lot more cooler just to own one and have all these special things, because you knew you couldn't breed them and you had to be careful with it. So now taking that away is the same way I feel about the wyverns, and it's just making it a little bit easier, a little bit too forgiving. And now when we think about PvP, we can see some absurdly insane stats coming out of these guys. We already know, if you play PvP, you already know Griffins, they devious. Like if you have a Griffin, like you could be doing some devious stuff. Same with the wyverns. The wyverns have such big health pools, and it becomes a nuisance fighting these things, and you now have to keep up at another aspect with everyone else. And all of that just leads back to my main concern. We're losing end game content. We're losing things to keep people playing, because now they can cheese their way through it. But in these broad scope of things outside my own personal beliefs, is this bad for Ark? No. For quality of life, some players need the ease of access. Some people want to have a multiple of these. It gives people access to these creatures early in game, and you don't have to have the perfect one. You can breed and mutate stats when you have a decent baseline, which is good, so people don't have to keep going out there and taming hundreds and hundreds of them just get one perfect stats. Even though I would rather that, it doesn't matter. It is going to make things easier across the board for everyone. And now you also get your imprint boost and you get your racing resistances. These are all great things for the game and for that dino, because at the end of the day, people are scared of losing things. This is a game where you lose things and you have to start from scratch sometimes. Having ways to preserve these things like your breed line and things like that, it's going to make people play a little bit more freely. But now when you're playing a little more freely, what do they have to counter that? What do they have to give them that challenge again? Because over the last year, we've just seen a lot of things that are just making the game a lot easier, and I feel like this is why people are losing interest and why people aren't holding interest with ASA. ASA, it's a good game. That's the thing, it's a good game. If you can run it and it works perfectly and it works fine for you, it is a good game. But it just gets boring after a while when you start doing all the things you need to do and realize that, hey, this is so much more forgiving than ASE. And that's why we see people come into the game, and we see a lot more people having cycles. They come in, do what they need to do, then they go off again because they don't need to spend as much time. They don't have to make that toxic bond that we all have with Ark, because it's easy now. Once they've done what they need to do, they can go away and come back whenever they want, and they never want to actually continue playing continuously until there's a new big event, until that next big thing. We used to see a lot of players playing Ark in single player. Now we don't, because in Ark Ascended, single player doesn't work the way it should work, and things like this need to be sorted out. Things like this need to be cleaned out to make the game great again. So yeah, we're getting Griffins back. We're getting something that everyone wanted, something that everyone was arguing and just crying for. We're getting that. Yes, you add that now, but how do you add new things to give people the challenges that we are losing now over time in this game? But yeah, overall, it's a good thing. Overall, I am happy that it's been added, for the mere fact that beyond me, it's going to make a lot of people happy. It might bring a lot of people back to the game for a while to play and enjoy this breedable thing and see how far they can go and stack mutations and stack all these things onto a griffin. But I feel like the mythical creatures should have been left on a tier where they weren't breedable and they were just mythical. You had to have one to have one, and if you lost it, you had to go get another one. I felt like that's the way I would have liked to see it, but changes are changes, and this is just how it's going to be. I can't stop it now, can I? But let's see what Wildcard tried to do to inject that hype back into this release for Ragnarok, because the Griffin coming out, I still haven't seen many feathers ruffled and people are like, whoa, we need to go back to Ark, even with this whole breedable scenario. I do hope they have plans, because the player base is really split right now. It's split and it's dwindling, which is really, really hard. They need to think about advertisement. They need to think about how do we get this in front of the people who know about us, because at the end of the day, you could have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, if the people who like your product don't know you have a new version of your product or a new flavor of your product, it doesn't matter. It's a useless product because no one knows about it. So I hope that Wildcard finds a way to actually put in some actual hype into Ragnarok, because this is one of my favorite maps, if not my favorite map. Actually, no. My second favorite map is Ragnarok. So it's like, if we find ways to make this great, it's going to be big. Ragnarok is one of the biggest and best maps for us that we love. There's so many places to be. The caves are hard. The dinos on the map are so unique. The wyvern trenches. There's just so much about Ragnarok, and we need to make this a great release. But yeah, let me know what you guys feel about this. What do you feel about the fact that griffins are now going to be breedable, along with the things we've seen in the past, like the wyverns and the insects? Is this a good step forward? Is making things that are supposed to be mythical breedable, where you can now stack all these things to them? Is this a good thing for the game? Is this making the game easier? Is it not making the game easier? Are my concerns valid, or are they just not valid at all? Let me know your opinions down below, and how you think Wildcard goes about advertising and making the release of Ragnarok great. Is this it? Is this the final straw? What do you think about that? Don't forget, if you like my opinions and you like the little conversation we just had, you feel me? Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.